Hi, and welcome to the 1964 Corvair engine drop. We did nearly everything wrong. We'd never done this before, so the video that you're about to see shows a lot of things that are kind of odd or strange or wrong. For one thing, you want to take the entire engine out, including the differential and the transmission, as a unit. You don't want to take out just the engine. That's just a red herring to take it off of the bell housing, to unscrew it from the bell housing, because you're likely to damage the linkage between the motor and the differential and the transmission that way. So it's just best and just easiest to take it out all in one piece. You pull out the drive axles on both sides. Then you remove the three main engine bolts. There's one in the back and there's two in the front. They're cotter pinned. You use a breaker bar. If they're really rusty, you just use a breaker bar and bust them off. The metal is softer, the cotter pin metal is softer than the bolt, and then it just comes out. It just comes off. Of course, you have to take all the little accoutrements and doodads and electrical this and a speedometer that and shift linkage this. All the little gewgaw. You also have to take off the dipsticks, both the differential and the oil, the differential and the transmission dipsticks. You have to take those off and unstrap them from the unit. After that, then you sort of lay the engine like a hen's egg. You put the you take the wheels off. You sort of let the car down, onto something like a piano mover. We used a piano mover, so you put a piano mover under the engine, and then you remove the three bolts and all the rest of the little doodads. Then you simply jack the car back up, and it, like I said, it lays the engine like a hen's egg, instead of using a hoist from up above. Then the whole thing comes out. It's actually, as everyone says, it's actually not that hard to do once you know how to do it. But we had a lot of false starts. We had a lot of rust to deal with. And the easiest way is simply break off the cotter pins if they're rusty with the three mounts. First of all, take all the little attachments and things off of there, then break off the three cotter pins if they're rusty from the castle nuts, and the whole thing comes out relatively easily after you know how. So you're going to see a lot of mistakes in these videos. I tried to just take the motor off. Now it is good to take the two bottom screws off, bottom bolts off of the bell housing, because once it's on the piano mover, it's a lot harder to take those bolts out. So you can just take those off and leave the top bell housing bolts on there. So here we go. Let's take the Corvair motor out. We're going to drop the motor on the 64 Corvair so we can start welding all the Swiss cheese back there and see if there's any other rust spots. The Corvair engine, as far as I can tell, is held on by a rear motor mount strap there, and so we're going to be dropping this whole motor so we can get in and treat all this rust and fix it all up. I have never dropped a Corvair motor before. Everything has been disconnected. The shroud is the shroud doesn't have the rubber lining all around, and that's how the car got to me. So I'm not taking off the shroud. I'm just going to drop the whole motor. This is the throttle linkage. As it's coming out of the hole, you have to disconnect it with it's a cotter pin down below, and then you have to just pull it out through this hole. It's one of the hardest things to disconnect. There it is. So it links down below. You just have to disengage the cotter pin. It actually took a lot to knock this out, and then it just comes pulling through the hole. This is probably the most difficult thing to disconnect on the motor before you drop it. This is the throttle linkage. It attaches to the carburetor and moves the carburetor butterflies. So this is
This is it on the passenger side. You show the teeth there. It's also a 9/16. Something tells me that's broken because that's sort of open to the air. The other side is, and there's just one last strap that's holding on the dipstick tube to the motor. So we'll take that off. So if we take that one off, if we take that one off the ratchet and we take off the back, I think this whole thing will drop down. We're gonna find out. So this is the rear, the castle nut that holds the rear engine mount on. So we're going to be taking the cotter pin out and gently removing that nut. So we have this rear shroud off. Had a lot of nuts on it that we had to take off. And it looks like there's enough exposure here for us to undo the top bolts without taking off the big upper shroud. So we're going to have to take off the rest of the bolts. Okay, well, I've got all the bolts out, and then I undid the castle nut here, down here, and on the whole thing sort of popped. But our cradle, which consists of a piano mover and a 3-ton floor jack, caught it. It did come down some. You see that carburetor is no longer level. And so I'm doing this by myself, so okay, so what I expect to happen right now is I'm gonna turn the jack to let it go down, and I hope that the whole thing's going to just gently descend to the floor. So here we go, and it's descending. It's going down. It looks like the whole thing is going down though, so I'm not sure. That looks like the whole transaxle is going down, and it's not separating at the I think that's called the bell housing. So let me try and pry it apart and see if just the engine will come off. So before you take the engine out, don't forget to take off the speedometer cable, which is right there. So this is the last 9/16 motor mount about to come off. It was rusty with a rusty cotter pin, and then I found out the hard way that all you do is just put a socket on it, and with a big bar, a big cheater bar, and just or a big breaker bar, and then just break off the cotter pin, and the rest is ready to come down. Alright, the car is on the ground. All three mount castle nuts are off. It's sitting on a piano mover, so now we'll just jack it up. So the car is just going to lay the engine like a hen's egg. It's on the ground. We dropped the car to the ground, got the nuts that we loosened off, and we're going to raise it back into the air, and the engine should be out. All right, it's down. It came down pretty easily. I can roll it around. I put it on a piano mover. We didn't get the speedometer cable off properly, so we're going to have to get that off in a little while. But it's off. The way you take the speedometer cable off is it's just got a round end to it, and you just get a channel lock on it and turn it, and that's it. It comes off. And it's out. So we took the speedometer cable off. We've got it on a piano mover, and we just roll it around. So that's the whole complete drivetrain of a Corvair all the way out.